Hello, you grateful heart. How are you doing today? I hope this video finds you in great spirits because I kind of want to allow you to laugh at my pain today. Today was one of those days that didn't just whisper, it slapped me. And I mean slapped me across the face. Like, haven't we already been here? Haven't we already learned our lesson? Why are we repeating the same mistakes? Yeah, that day was today, and I fell at work, on the job, and got hurt, protecting someone else and completely neglecting myself once again. And I know in my gut that this was not just a fall. It was a loud, clear reminder that my body, my mind, my spirit, and my peace do not belong here anymore. So, you want to know what happened? This week was going by like smooth. We made it pretty much till Thursday. Smooth sailing a little bit, almost too good to be true. So I get a call on the walkie. Hey, Mr. Great, are you available to give support for Greg right now? For the sake of confidentiality and everything, wow, it's really pouring out there. Okay, so we're just gonna say that the student's name is Greg, but she asked if I was able to. This is already my second time filming this video, so I'm just gonna let the shh stop and then I'll resume. Uno momento. Okay, it's still raining, but I mean, I like the sound of rain, and I'm not trying to keep like having excuses of why this video isn't getting done. Anyway, where was I? There has been a student who has been struggling with controlling his emotions when he does not get his way. He is my son age. Their classroom is actually adjacent from the hall, from each other. So whenever I have to respond to a call for this student, I try to be as low-key as possible, so that my little one doesn't see me in the hall and, yeah. So I get the walkie call. Mr. Gray, are you able to give Greg a break? I say, sure, I'm on my way. And I have literally just taken a few bites of my lunch. And this normally happens. I am pretty much interrupted during the time that I am trying to put some things in my body to give me energy to carry on throughout the rest of my day. Today I chose a healthy option, a little chicken salad. Was the chicken grilled? No, but one step in a healthy direction. But yes, I was enjoying my salad and it had pita bread in it. So I decided to, I was like, he just need a break. They didn't say like, I need admin. Like, it didn't seem like the call or the need for support was going left. Like, it was escalating, right? So I brought a piece of pita bread with me. So I'm walking out of my office and I hear the teacher come onto the walkie again, and now she's like, I'm evacuating my classroom. And I'm like, what? It's been like 30, 60 seconds since I said that I was on the way. Now at this point, I stuff the whole pita bread in my left pocket. And I mean, I don't run, but my pace has kind of like picked up, and I'm like getting down the hallway a little bit faster. And when I finally arrive to the classroom, when I step into the door frame, there are a few chairs scattered across the classroom, crayons and markers. The student is like clearly upset, frustrated, whatever, face is frowning, and it's kind of like in a tug of war type of deal with his teacher, because he's already destroyed her room once, and I'm pretty sure she was like, if I let him go, he's just gonna tear up the place. So when I got in there, I had to like let him know, I gotta hold you accountable for this, dude. Like, I had to put it in perspective for him. I had to be like, Greg, they literally just called me on this walkie. My office is all the way on the other side of the building. It's not even on this hallway. I had to walk on 2 different hallways just to get to your hallway and get to you. There's always a siren going on when I'm on. I make a video. I think they wanna be featured in my video. They need to start their own motherfucking video, cause this right here is my fucking video. They need to shut it up and turn their sirens off, okay? You can barely hear it? Okay. So where was I? All right, yes. I was letting Greg know that he needed to consider that when a teacher calls support so that you can have a brain break, you have to allow me to arrive. I'm not gonna lie, I said, Greg, I can't teleport. I was walking in the hallway, and from that time, you allowed yourself to explode and you lost control. What have I always told you, Greg? When you don't control Greg, you allow other people to control you, Greg. So now I cannot give you the break that you want. Not with this room looking like this. There's chairs all over the place. It looks like you were trashing it. So now it looks like your break is going to be having some reflective time with me while we get this classroom back together. So then I also had to explain to the student who is now hearing what I'm telling him and realizing, oh man, I messed up even more, because I'm pretty sure he was not complying, not listening to his teacher, and she initially just tried to give him a break, like, hey, I'm gonna just let you get out of this environment real quick. Let me call Mr. Great and get you out of here. But from the time it took for me to get to my office to his classroom, he raged, threw chairs and everything like that, so she had to get the other students out of the classroom. So when I show up to an environment like that, I can't give you a brain break and it's fun. Now the consequence is going to be something that you don't like. So then I basically had to tell him, you just chose your consequence, Greg. All you had to do was wait for me to come to you, and then you could have had the break that you needed. But now, you have to have the bad consequence for the bad action that you chose. So then he gets upset at the truth of the matter and goes, hides in the corner, whatever. Another teacher comes in. She helps me in this situation because this isn't her student. He's not being an a-hole to her in the moment. Her tone is inviting. I'm not gonna lie, she probably sounds a little less fed up than I do, because there's actually some backstory context. Again, I have already said that when I walked in, the teacher was holding on to him because he had already trashed her room just 2 weeks ago, and he got it good. And the day before he trashed her room, guess whose room he trashed? And I told him, I don't even want you to pick it up. I want you to visualize it and see what you did here, so that you know that when I come to give you a break, we won't be coming back in my classroom. So the teacher basically, not his teacher, but the other teacher who stopped in to kind of assist, she offers to help us clean up and then offers to take him since her students are at lunch. And so I'm telling you, we do that. She takes him. I'm ripping and running around the school answering other calls because other students are not making the right choices as well. I think I may have gone to check on my son because it is now his lunchtime. Mind you, my son is the same age and same grade level as Greg. So Greg is also in the cafeteria at this time when I am trying to check on my son, see how his day is going, because I'm like, on the days where the students on my caseload are not having good days, I am praying that my son is having a good day. Like, please. So, checking on my son, I see Greg up under the table. What are you doing up under that table, Greg? His friends are like, Mr. Gray, Greg's up under the table. He's upset because he can't get an ice cream. So, yeah. Usually when Greg doesn't get his way or when he can't do something, can't finish something, we got a problem. So Greg already knows the rules, just like every other student knows, that if you leave your dollar bill or your ice cream money in the classroom, when it's lunchtime, there is no leaving the cafeteria and going back to class and getting the money. Also, on days where PTA doesn't have a volunteer to host the ice cream shop, like, what was that? To host the ice cream shop, nobody gets ice cream. So I'm explaining to him, like, there's no volunteer here, sweetheart. Like, nobody's getting ice cream. He's like, no, I saw somebody eating ice cream. And then I'm also like, well, sweetheart, you also haven't been making the right choices today to probably earn ice cream. So he's still sitting up under the table. At this point, his teacher comes because lunchtime is over. So he also wouldn't have had enough time to buy an ice cream and eat it. Lunchtime is over. And so I'm like filling his teacher in, like heads up, like he under this table, he mad because he can't get an ice cream. And she's like, Greg, come on, like we gotta go. I tell you, Greg moved his body so slow down that hallway. I'm talking about he did. You know how you move one foot, then catch the other foot, one foot, then catch the other. This is how he was, like, that's how he was walking. One foot and one, and that's how he was moving down the hallway, to the point where I'm the caboose. Like, I'm not even supposed to be with his class, but I'm just trying to make sure he's not lollygagging in the hallway to where his teacher in the class ends up leaving him. Like, I have to have eyes on him, right? So I'm also trying, like, to not let him know that I am following him, or, you know, that I'm there for him, because a lot of these behaviors are attention seeking. And so his class turns the corner of the hallway. I can no longer see his teacher or his class. And so I'm backing up so that he can't see me, but he turns around and he sees me and he stops. Like, he doesn't even proceed to try and go to class anymore. So then the same teacher, who's not his teacher, but assisted in helping him and myself clean up his mess, and then she took him and she brought him to lunch. She sees him and she's like, hey, what's going on? And she kind of gives him a motivational speech, and she's like, hey, if you can turn your day around, then you can come see me at the end of the day and I'll give you a treat. I'm sorry you weren't able to get ice cream. And so he literally kind of like runs down the hallway to his class like he's excited because he wants to get this reward. He is ready to turn his day around. So I'm like, wow, that's all we needed? Mind you, I walk to his door to make sure that he, like, you gotta actually see these kids off, because lo and behold, is that how you say it? Lo and behold, he comes back out of the classroom. He asked his teacher, do I have to participate? And she's like, well, yeah. And he's like having an internal battle. He's like, well, I don't want to get a 0, but I don't want to participate. And then he just leaves out of the classroom. I'm like, Greg, you can't leave out of the classroom. He exits his classroom and then he goes in the hallway by these double doors that lead to the outside parking lot. And I'm like, hey, we can't chill here. And then I'm also reminding him, I'm like, Greg, you keep doing these things in front of the cameras, dude. And then, like, he'll be like, oh, and then start to, like, self-deprecate a little bit. Greg ends up trying to, like, he gets up and he walks towards his class, but then he turns the opposite direction. And so I immediately say wrong way, picks up his speed. Then I grab my walkie and I say, Officer such and such, can you meet me at the back doors, please? He says, I'm on my way. When I tell you, once we got maybe like 5 or 10 feet away from the double doors leading to our playground, the students started to run. And so what did I start to do? I started to run. He pushed the door. You know how, like, those metal doors you have to push it and then it opens. He pushed it and I grabbed him, and then I grabbed him, pulled him to me, and I turned both of our bodies around to where my back is now facing the door. And I'm like, you know, I can't let you go out there. So then he, like, leans forward and I release him. He's just like, and I'm like, and inside I'm like, me too, buddy, me too. Then there's this desk that is facing the wall that is by the door, and he gets the desk and he slams it down. And at this point, the officer has arrived and he's like, buddy, calm down, buddy, calm down. So then Greg starts to run for me and the officer. So what me and the officer do, we start running. We start running after little Greg. As we're running, we see the vice principal. So the vice principal and I are trying to calm Greg down in the hallway, but he's still, nobody will let me go. Nobody should be talking. I'm mad. So Greg cannot seem to calm himself down. And at this point, Greg now sees that his class is leaving. Yeah, because he never made it back to class from lunch because he didn't want to participate and do his work. So now his class has already finished the work that he didn't want to do. And guess what time it is? It's recess time. It's time for recess. And now we got to explain to Greg that, dude, You just lost recess. You literally just tried to bolt out the back of the school. What in your right mind makes you think that you could get recess today, Greg? So now Greg is extra mad. He don't understand. He still think he should be able to get recess. No, Greg, I can't take you outside for recess, okay? We gotta talk about what's going on. We still gotta diffuse this situation because you're still upset that you didn't get ice cream. Now you're mad that you didn't get ice cream and you can't go to recess. So Greg, we gotta take a chill pill. We gotta hold on a moment, sit down right here, and we gotta talk and we gotta discuss. Greg got tired. He got tired of discussing. He wanted to go to recess. So he got up and we were like, Greg, sit down. You can't go anywhere. At this point, the principal is also there. So it's me, the behavior person, the principal, and the vice principal, and little bitty old Greg. And so then we say, Greg, no, you got to sit down. We got to talk, sweetheart. Greg starts to, juke and jive and try. We're like, hold on now. I tell him, I say, hey, if you go past those double doors towards the office, we're just going to chill out in the office for the rest of the day, sweetheart. So he still proceeds to try and go. So the vice principal and I are trying to corner Greg so that he doesn't keep trying to elope and flee the scene. And while we're blocking him off with our bodies, we're trying to reason with him and letting him know, buddy, if you keep moving in the direction that you're going, the consequences are going to be worse. They're going to be things that you don't like. So vice principal says, Greg, why don't we come have a seat over here? The cafeteria is now completely empty. There's no students, right? And it seems as though the custodians have already cleaned up the place. Instead of deciding to take a seat at one of the cafeteria tables on the little bench that is connected to the table, because you know how the seats can fold into the table, instead of sitting on the bench, he proceeds to walk past the tables, and now he's going into the aisles of the table and is trying to get into a cat and mouse type of chase. Vice principal and I are not trying to do that with Greg. So we're trying to still talk Greg down, right? He is going ballistic. So typically when this happens, vice principal goes one way, I go the other way, and we try to, pinch him again to where he's sandwiched in between us. However, Greg decides to take off at full speed towards the double doors that lead to the bus loop. That means he's going outside, unpermitted, without an adult. So as soon as he darts for that door, what do? I dart for him, and I take off at full speed in that cafeteria. As soon as I see him push that door and open it, I just feel my body in the air. Next thing, I'm on the ground. I'm still trying to get up, and I see the vice principal darting out of the door after the student. And, I'm just down there come on, get up. When I tell you that 32 feels different, and for some reason I just couldn't get my body off that ground fast enough, eventually I pulled myself together. My knee was stinging and screaming with pain, but I managed to make it out there with the vice principal and the student. We ended up transporting the student back into the school, even though that was pretty difficult because he was, throwing his weight around. We had to kind of embrace him a bit to get him into the building. He proceeded to escalate, did not calm down, tried to destroy things in the office, and then had to be restrained. I wasn't a part of that process because I had to go to the nurse. So all that to say, a lot of these escalations like this happen fairly close to dismissal. All right, so at this point, Greg probably only had 45 minutes or less left out of the school day. But he was so strung and caught up on the fact that he was not getting his way and he was not able to get recess that he still could not pull himself together and realize, hey, I literally just ran out of the school building. I'm gonna have a big consequence. At this point, he's just building and stacking consequences on top of each other. I think it was fair enough to say that I had had enough for the day. It's moments like these where my body goes into a brief panic every time one of my coworkers calls me over the walkie-talkie for support, because I never really know what I'm going to be walking into. Usually it's after a teacher has already engaged in a full-blown power struggle with a student who just didn't want to be bothered, who really just didn't want to be at school today. And the thing is, I get it. Some of these kids come to school with so much emotional baggage that they don't know how to carry it all. In school, it's one of the only places that they feel safe enough to drop the load, regardless of if it's appropriate, regardless of if it's chaotic. And I try to show compassion because above all else, I'm a mom first. And my son, he's in the same grade as Greg. My son has his own moments, his own meltdowns. The only difference is, for the most part, they happen at home. But incidents like this drain me so much that by the time I'm home, I'm emotionally unavailable for my son. And that's not fair, and that is a boundary that is being crossed every time I'm in that predicament. And who do I beat up about it? I get onto me about it every single time. My son didn't ask for a mom who's always having to constantly recover from other people's emotional outbursts without having time or patience for the time that he has his own. And once again, I found myself putting my body on the line. For what? This job keeps asking me to give. And they keep asking me to give what I no longer have to give. Sometimes that sign won't come in a quiet voice. Sometimes it's gonna come when you hit the floor, literally. My workplace no longer feels like my safe place, not just emotionally, but physically too. And every time I ignore that feeling, that whisper in my gut that says, you've outgrown this. Every time I ignore it, life sends me yet another message. Another moment like today that says, I deserve better, and so do you. So if you're watching this and you've been convincing yourself to stay in a place that you've clearly outgrown, whether it's a job, a role, a routine, or even a mindset, just know you don't need another breakdown to justify your breakthrough. Your peace matters. Your body matters. Your joy, that's not too much to ask for. And if this video reminded you of what you already knew deep down inside, feel free to give this video a thumbs up or hit that subscribe button. And before you go, drop a comment down below and let me know what's one sign that made you realize it's time to move on, even if you haven't acted on it yet. I'd love to know. I really do read every single comment. And if this video made space for you, I just want to take the moment to thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. This journey is messy, but we're figuring it out together. One breath, one hard truth, and one small act of self-trust at a time. I'm sending you the greatest love, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.